Brad, we are live, Brad.
Oh God. Pull my pants up.
Oh,
the Jedi are bad.
The Jedi are good. Oh, wow.
And more intense lines coming up.
Yes, actually, yes. How you doing tonight?
Fantastic. Happy early Father's Day.
That is correct. Happy early Father's Day to you and all our listeners and people that are hanging out in the chat. We are streaming both on YouTube's and Twitter. So if you're on the Twits, say hello there. If you're on the YouTubes, say hello there as well. Last week we had some great success, both on Twitter.
I had to turn you down.
Yeah.
But I turned you down. But I would never turn you down.
No, not at all.
Except on Twitter.
But yeah, so we had some nice success on Twitter, and we're gonna try it again. Absolutely. So who's in the chat? We got a couple of people in the chat. Thank you very much for joining us, Captain Wrecked, Isaac, Patrick. We have one new subscriber from last week, Jameson Horton. Thank you very much. Welcome, the Jedi of Chicago. Have I ever met the Jedi in Chicago?
I was wondering that.
Since I'm in Chicago,
I just thought it was you, like talking to us, like to an alias.
Yeah. No, I don't do that. Who else? Who was it that liked and retweeted their own thing? That's okay. Oh yeah, we met at Scarif Con last year. Yes. All right, I know who that is. Different handle, I think, on Twitter. If I am putting 2 and 3 together.
Conversations
podcast. Hey, another Red 5 Network. What, who, when, how?
Now we're
Thank
respectable.
you very much. Yeah, now we're respectable. Yeah, we're gonna be talking about the Acolyte. How many times have you seen it? This last episode.
1.65.
Yeah, I would say 1.85. I wanted to do a complete rewatch, but I just didn't get the time. Watch it the first time, obviously, when Danny did her watch party. This time I was a little bit like you. I didn't stop for them while they were doing it. I just kept on going. Because she's got commercials.
Yeah, I can't stop like that. I can't do it.
Let's see here. Yeah, we're going to come back, and I wanted to do a quick little show and tell, but maybe we'll do it after a little bit. But I don't know. It's episode 3. It's called Destiny. But you know what's funny? I noticed that the first 2 episodes had double name titles. This one didn't. If you were to choose a second name for this title, what would you choose? That would be kind of telling. What would you choose as the second name for the title? It's called Destiny.
I don't know.
Interesting, right? I mean,
I don't know, something with fate in it, or
yeah, right. The opposite of like destiny.
Yeah, fate. Free will. I don't know.
Yeah,
fate, destiny, dumpster fire.
All right. Well, speaking of dumpster fire, we're going to come back after a few click of buttons, and we'll see if we can fix Star Wars, right?
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
That is correct, my friends. And if you are tuning in to the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast live edition here on the YouTubes and on Twitter, welcome everyone, all of our friends, everyone that we know. Well, all 18 of you at least.
Both of you.
Yes. Brad, how goes it? I'm glad you're here.
Me too. Better than not being here.
Better than
Oh.
not being here. Yeah.
Like
Force
I
of
said-
Light Entertainment. Michelle
Oh, hey.
was in the chat. What's up? What's up? What's up? Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, happy early Father's Day. We went to see family today, and we got back, and I was able to watch most of the episode again just to refresh.
Yeah. Same here.
Well, we'll see. Well, we have a lot to. Do we have,
have
a lot to unpack?
We have a lot to unpack, and I think
while we're here, sorry to cut off Roe completely because I'd like to do that. Follow me back on Twitter, Force of Light. All right, there's a new me. All right, don't.
Oh my God,
there's been.
What is this, like your 7th account? You're worse than Sean from.
Yes, it is my 7th account.
Extra
Follow me
Star
back,
Wars.
and the rest of you too. I'm just Brad. Follow me on there.
He is.
But anyway, you were saying before I rudely cut you off.
I was saying that I don't know. We might have a little bit of a disagreement regarding this episode tonight.
I think so.
But before we get into that, I do. I love seeing what other people purchase throughout the week. I know last week we did I thought we did a little show and tell, but I wanted to do another show and tell this week and see if we usually go to antique malls, we go to comic book stores. I know thrift stores are a great way to find some nice little prizes and stuff like that for our collections. But I wanted to find out if you went anywhere. Did you acquire anything?
I did.
What's the Scuttlebutt?
And I love how much you're using the Scuttlebutt on Twitter lately. There's butts and scuttles all over the place.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's our brand.
One of my favorite places in the world is a used bookstore. And today I just happened to find this.
Oh,
Joseph Campbell's The Power of Myth with Bill Moyers.
You didn't have that before?
No.
Oh,
I mean, I've seen it on video a million times, but I never had the book version. And so to find something like that, and of course, by now everybody knows that Joseph Campbell was a huge influence on George Lucas and the hero's journey, which we've done stories about. So I was excited to find that. I didn't do much Star Wars shopping this weekend, but I did pick that up while I was at the used bookstore.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So what'd you get?
So I did, there's folks talking about getting stuff. What did Michelle? I'm about to buy a dancing gopher because I just watched Caddyshack. Yeah, everybody had a dancing gopher back in the day, right?
Yeah, I just want to know, like, is that Michelle? Is that Michelle? Where were you for the last 20 years?
We've all established that the girls were sheltered. They were out touching
I just got
grass.
back, and now I want to ask her, like, where really, like,
that's
how?
Hilarious.
But I mean, better late than never.
Yes, better late than never.
Because there's nothing better than Bill Murray in Caddyshack.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. So I went to the thrift store and I found this little ditty.
Oh,
it's a Laserdisc. You guys remember Laserdisc?
All 2 years of it, yeah.
Yeah. It's I bought it for nostalgic reasons. I do have my Laserdisc player, and I still have all of my Star Wars laser discs.
Do they still play all right?
They still play all right. And this obviously I bought this for nostalgia. I've got the Blu-rays and the DVDs and stuff like that, but this is one of those movies, obviously, that is important to us Star Wars people as well. George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, Raiders of the Lost Ark. The first one, I think the original one is the best. Obviously, everybody's got a favorite, but it's wonderful to be able to. Favorite? The original one.
Lost. Okay. I'm a Last Crusade kind of guy.
Yeah, Last Crusade is wonderful.
Sean Connery. Come on now.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Some more people are coming in. Andrew Haley, what's up? Comics and Cosmetics. Danny, thank you very much for stopping by. You know what is the resolution on this?
Well, they're putting stuff back on vinyl again. Are they putting anything back on Laserdisc again for
Laserdisc? No. Vinyl, yes. I've picked up a couple of vinyl things. Oh, did I show you this last time? Speaking of vinyl, Rogue One soundtrack on vinyl.
Nice.
With the picture.
That's beautiful. I think I saw that.
Yeah.
Force of Light. I'm just Brad.
Yeah.
I'm just Brad. I'll tweet you. You don't have to look. I'll tweet you.
Hold on. Let me put this away here somewhere. Yeah. So those are fun
I couldn't
things.
believe that video I found about. I'm trying to stall the whole Acolyte talk, but I couldn't believe that thing I posted about how Scarif came about. I don't know if you guys in the chat, maybe I was the last one to hear that, but had you heard that before? So,
yes.
Okay, yeah. So we just found out this week. I don't know how Scarif got its name, which I didn't know before. But Gareth Edwards was talking about it, and he went to go get some coffee, and the barista asked him what his name was, and he said it's Scarif, and they heard Scarif.
Yeah, wrote it on the cup.
Yeah, he's like wrote on the cup as Scarif, and he's like, well, we got our name for the last planet. It's right there. So it was nice to hear some Rogue One trivia for once.
And Michelle just found you.
Yeah.
Your phone should be clicking or doing some sort of beeping or something like that. But there's just to mention we are part of the Red 5 Network. There's a couple of Red 5 Network podcasts and content creators in the chat. Force of Light Entertainment, Comics and Cosmetics. I'm sure some other folks will join us as well. But yeah, if you guys are into nerdy discussions and topics of that sort, please head on over to Red 5. It's bio.link/Red5. I'm sure you'll be able to find a content creator that is right up your alley, and give them a follow. One of the things that I really enjoy when people find us either on the Red 5 Twitter account or the bio link, I love the interaction between the podcasts, whether you're a Red 5 Network or not. I think the folks that interact with some of our shows back and forth, it's really great. And I think that's one of the reasons that I really, really enjoy being on the socials, interacting with other podcasts. I just finished listening to Clone My Radio. There are a bunch of wonderful folks over there. But any other podcasts that you listen to that are geek related that you might want to spread some love?
I mean, like everybody just mentioned, but I'm just happy, how well everybody's doing these days. Force of Light doing amazing, Comics and Cosmetics doing amazing, like everybody's doing so good out there, and just really happy to see it.
Sure.
Yeah. And I love how many opinions, diverse opinions we have on there, and all welcomed within the network. So that's great to see as well.
Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful. I think the fact that we and our goal really was just to kind of support other content creators and celebrate with them. And speaking of celebrating, we are on the cusp of 50,000 lifetime downloads, which I think is amazing. It kind of snuck up on us. Let's see where we're at now.
You must be running out of memory on your on your phone. All those downloads.
Yeah, all time.
It's like Deadpool just downloaded his own thing 40,000 times. We
are about 80 episodes or 80 downloads away from 50K.
That's nuts.
And it's wonderful to see, and I see, from time to time I see some ticks from older episodes. I think our best downloaded episode is still episode 108 when we talked about the legacy of the bad guys. I think
love it.
We hit some sort of nerve regarding the antagonists of some of our favorite movies.
Yeah. And I just want to let you guys know in the chat something I just pitched the row, which we're going to do soon because I really want to, and that's the morality in Star Wars. We're going to hit on one of those topics tonight, and that's child stealing. From the Jedi Order, but there's a lot of things that happen in Star Wars which are morally questionable, and I think it deserves its own show. So be expecting that sometime in the near future.
Absolutely. So you want to get into? Let's get into the Acolyte here.
Suppose we should.
I know, man. It's the internet has been rough. And especially, if you're, if you're more or less kind of level-headed and just want to discuss any new Star Wars, good luck with you there. But it's I see the hate back and forth, and sometimes it just blows my mind. I will post something about the Acolyte. The good thing,
racist.
yeah. The good thing about that is that I don't get. I guess in our timeline, for some reason, I don't get the straight up, shit posting and vitriol that other accounts get for whatever reason. And I don't know, maybe it's our reputation. It's like, we don't stand for that shit. It's our opinion. If you don't like it, that's fine. Maybe we just don't care.
We don't care. We're bound to troll you back, probably.
Oh yeah. So. Yeah. And I think that's a big part of it too. We don't take any of this stuff seriously. It's, we're just discussing a movie, series, whatever. So, all right. The Acolyte episode 3.
You want to start with what you really loved about the episode? Should we start there?
Yeah, sure.
What you really love.
Do you want to do that, or do you want to go almost scene by scene, chronologically?
Well, I was just going to say the only thing I really loved is how it looks. We've talked about this on the first 2 episodes. I mean, it is beautiful. It remains beautiful. I'd say the visuals and the music. I would say, and Saul.
Saul, yeah. Are you on the Saul train?
Yeah, I'm on the Saul train for sure. But yeah, that's it, you can't argue with how the thing looks.
Yeah, absolutely.
10 out of 10 visually, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. Let's kind of go through, because I've got another window open and I want to kind of scroll through some stuff. But we get a little bit of a history, a flashback. This entire episode really is a flashback.
What do you think about flashback episodes? Do you like flashback episodes?
For
like
part,
Mando, where it was like they kept injecting it. The back to what do we used to call them? The back to scenes.
Flashback to scenes.
The flashback to scenes that they had the entire time. Would you rather have one flashback scene?
I think I would rather have one cohesive story from beginning to end. I think, especially when they drop episodes, one at a time and it's out of order. I think, I don't know. It lends itself to more, I think, arguing, more confusion, more back and forth. But in the long run, I think really that's what Disney likes, is that fans are talking about it. Whether it's good, bad, whatever, that's marketing is marketing. There's no such thing as bad publicity, the whole spiel regarding marketing. Yeah. But I do feel like, I wish they would tell kind of a more of a cohesive story from beginning to end. I don't know
I'm with Force of Light on this one. Like I'd rather, even if they show it or they just refer back to it. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of flashback episodes.
No, yeah, and I mean, so far this is better than some of the stuff that they did in Book of Boba Fett, because I think
they never stopped. They just kept going with all that crap.
Yeah.
So the first scene was under the Bunta tree.
Yeah, and that scene to me was interesting. You've got the twins playing with that little butterfly creature. Yeah. Osha seems to be compassionate and May seems to be a little more bratty. You can tell that, she uses she's starting to use the Force in kind of a questionable way. Even the way she frames her hands, it's a little more aggressive than Osha. So I think obviously that's foreshadowing of what the rest of the episode is going to do, especially for these characters. I don't know what do you think?
Did you ever play the you never played the Star Wars the older you were still playing Need for Speed, I think. So you never played right. You never played Star Wars the Old Republic, right? On the computer online. I don't know, because they had some of the best trailers ever. Wow. Okay, I guess we make it better. We better make it good. Speaking of what Jameson is talking about, I was just talking with my family earlier today, and I just want to say I'm happy that you guys are all here. Like, if 2 of you show up, that makes this all worth it. So to see everybody in the chat, listening to us and the amount of downloads that we've had. That makes this whole thing worth it. So I just
Worthwhile.
want to say that
Absolutely.
I appreciate you guys, and thank you for taking time out of your schedules to watch us on Saturday night. That does mean a lot. But the scene with the kids in the morning, it reminded me of that trailer that they had for Star Wars: The Old Republic, where there was two brothers and they were going through different parts of their lives together. I kind of got that vibe from it. But I mean, they're okay actors, I suppose. I mean, I think she's doing an all right job. Is this really sisters that we're looking at? I assume.
Yes, I was reading a post. They are sisters.
Okay.
They're
All right.
They're not.
I mean,
they're not identical twins, but I
didn't think they were.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think they're doing an okay job.
Yeah. I mean, let's
for child actors.
Let's not throw the children under the bus.
No. But no, it was a nice scene to set it up, I think.
Yeah, and I think obviously the episode ends under that tree as well, so there's definitely something important there. We'll get to that in a minute, but I do you have any favorite characters? Are there any favorite characters, new characters in this episode?
I mean, in this episode, no. Well, I mean, I know you like what's her name? Mother. She's Zabrak, isn't she?
Corell.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. I'm still just Saul all the way.
Sure.
I think Saul's carrying this show. It was good to see. I'm glad Carrie Ann Moss is in the flashbacks. So good to see her again.
Yeah,
but, I continued to not like Torben. And before I forget it, let me just bitch here. I mean, we're going to talk about him some more, but this guy went from Padawan to Jedi Master in 6 years, folks.
In 6 years, yeah.
That's
the math doesn't add up.
No, the math doesn't add up. I think they paid him off. I think there was hush money that the Jedi Order gave Torben.
Right.
But yeah, this was 16 years ago, and he's been in a trance for the last 10 years. So somehow he made Master in 6, but they wouldn't give it to Anakin.
Yeah.
I don't know. So that pissed me off. But no, I love Saul. But what do you think about Saul creeping in the trees?
Yeah, we're all anticipating maybe another version of this story from a different point of view, and maybe we'll get that next week. There's a lot of blanks to be filled, I think, during this, and we'll see why the Jedi decided to come to this planet in the first place. Are they actually spying on this coven? Who do you feel that the coven were persecuted by? Do you think it was the Jedi? Or somebody else?
Well, she called them deranged monks,
right?
Which I think you put this. I'm sure other people have echoed the same thing. Not everybody loved the Jedi, both before and after the fall of the Republic. So that's not unheard of for people to have that. You have this secretive group of monks who want to. I don't mind discussions. They talked about power, and we're not quite there to that scene yet, but it's one of the first scenes. She mentions, calling it the Force and having power and who can wield it. I'm always up for discussions about that, about who has the moral right and obligation to, control that kind of power. And I think it's, I think it's worth having that discussion. But I don't have a problem with them not liking the Jedi. Who they're hiding from, I don't know, because we don't know if this is just a coven on its own, or if it's part of a bigger, Witches of Dathomir type deal. I mean, they did have a Zabrak in there, but the Witches of Dathomir weren't Zabrak though. So I don't know.
Right. Yeah, and multi-species. You also saw a what do you call it? Some other.
The old lady was a Sullustan, I think.
Supposedly she was not. I think I was on Twist My Arm, Quest Me podcast, and we were looking it up, and I forgot. I wrote it down somewhere, but I don't know. Yeah. There is a scene later on where Mother Anastasia, when they I guess during the ascension of the children, when the Jedi show up, and Carrie Ann Moss's character says, we didn't know this planet was inhabited, but they were there. Obviously they were there spying on them and trying to figure things out. But Anastasia says, "Oh, the all-powerful Jedi's
Don't know their
ignorance. They didn't.
surroundings.
They didn't
Yeah.
know. They didn't know what was going on." Um, you know, what do you think of the relationship between the two mothers, Anastasia and Corell? I feel like Anastasia is a little bit more truthful to what her feelings are and her love for the children, and Corell really does want to kind of keep them within the coven, and maybe manipulates the situation. I feel like she's behind a lot of the stuff that's going on with the deception and with trying to frame the Jedi and making them out to be, the bad guys. I don't think, that I don't think it's as obvious as the first 3 episodes are making it seem. I do feel like, and who knows, maybe Mother Corell was the one that actually hid the children from the rest of the galaxy on this planet, and something happened.
So I think the reason they're and I like to answer your original question. I like the relationship that they had there, and I know a lot of people were talking about this coven, and you're not watching fantasy if you've never seen a witch's coven before.
Sure,
this is not this first. I mean, like we already talked about the witches of Dothamir. This is not the first time that there's been a coven of witches that are all female. But I think the reason that they may have been in hiding was where the girls came from. And
yes,
how they came about. I think that might be why they're, because they whispered about that, where, why they're so powerful. And speaking of which, again, we're kind of bouncing around, but we're sort of going chronologically. Did you notice that, I think it was May, snuck up on the Wookiee Jedi? Like, he was working on that speeder or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And she actually snuck up on him. So that kind of surprised me.
Yeah.
I don't know if I looked too much into it, but I thought it was kind of funny that she was able to, because looked like he was genuinely surprised when she came up to him and she startled him. I thought that, so they must be pretty strong in the Force.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think one of them is more stronger than the other, between May and Osha. I wanted to ask you because the internet is all abuzz about the way that these twins were created, and do you think? Let me make sure that I highlight this here.
Yeah.
Do you think that this waters down the birth of Anakin? Do you think it it diminishes the importance of how he was born?
No, but I don't think it does. And it also, we can start talking about prophecies. We've talked about prophecies before on the show, and, how those are dangerous when people read them and look, want them to happen.
Yeah.
I don't think it, I think it's still a very rare Force ability for this to happen.
Right. I mean,
again,
if you're counting them and Anakin, it's only 2 in a millennia.
Right. And I don't think that was, so whatever bigger, religious organization they're part of, somehow they got this knowledge as well. They, the Palpatine or whoever, Plagueis, they got this through Sith channels, through Sith studies.
Right.
But whoever, however they learn in this coven, they somehow, and they don't call it the same thing. Right. So they, they were talking about the thread versus the Force. They probably don't call them midi-chlorians.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably just more of a mystical thing for them.
Yeah.
But, I don't think, yes, it's probably generally forbidden knowledge, but that doesn't mean nobody else can get a hold of it either. Right. And this is 100 years before the movies, give or take. So, and who knows, like, again, we're talking about episode 3 into 8 episodes. I hope there will be more to this story, and we don't know if it's going to tie in to the movies after all that.
Right.
And I wanted to talk about that, the comic book. We were discussing that on text and via Twitter.
Yeah.
So there was that episode, I think it was in the Vader comic, where they did flashbacks and it showed Shmi, on Tatooine, and then it shows like
Palpatine in the background,
Palpatine and some kind of weird image, and you can see that he's influencing the midichlorians in her body, basically saying that Palpatine is Anakin's Force daddy. And that was pretty clear when we read that. We were like, "Oh crap!" Well, they're
right.
like we all kind of thought that they were, that they were hinting at that in the movies. So to answer Jameson's question, Jameson's question in the Jedi Chicago, that comment there. So in the comic, it's like straight up, like the comic shows him influencing Shmi to do that. But then the story group after that came out and it started buzzing all over the internet. They're like, no, that's not what we meant. And they had to provide external explanation as to, and that's what Jedi of Chicago is referring to.
Right.
That they're saying, no, those were just fears that he had. So it's kind of, it's up in the air as to whether that's canon or not. I still think he did. There's too many hints between that panel in the comic book and then obviously everything, the Plagueis conversation in episode 3. There's so much evidence that he, it is true. But as of right now, I'd say it's officially up in the air as to whether Palpatine is his father. But
now, here's a theory that I was discussing with some friends. So these twins were a creation of the dark side, per se. Corell even tells Anasea, one of the reasons we've been hunting is because of the way that these, if they found out how these twins were created, it is a power that is unnatural. Yeah. And who else remembers someone saying that the dark side is a pathway to unnatural powers? So I found that interesting, and obviously, to kind of bookend Anakin's creation, I almost feel like if you had these twins that were born of the dark side for whatever reason, the answer that the universe would mitigate was to create someone from the light side of the Force, or just create another being from the Force to bring balance. And I think that's where the prophecy of the chosen one comes from. I guess, my interpretation, my little conjecture here regarding the creation of Anakin versus these twins, they are created in similar fashions, but I think one is from the dark side, as we know these twins to kind of, be, and the other one is from the Force itself, almost like the Force is saying, I've got to counter, this bad with the good. And I think that that's my theory as far as how this goes. And that's kind of my long answer around the fact that some people say that Anakin's birth has been diminished because of that. I don't think it has been diminished because of that.
It's like the same conversation that, is Luke's importance diminished, because in the movies, in the original trilogy, he was the only potential Jedi around. And now we know there's Ezra, the guy from Jedi Survivor is out there. Ahsoka's out there. Does that diminish his value or his importance? I don't think it does. But philosophically, I know Palpatine talks about it being a dark side ability. Do you see that, just influencing midichlorians to create life? Do you consider that? Would you think that is a dark side ability?
I think it would be, I would think it would be a perversion of the Force.
What about healing? Is it not just the extreme of Force healing? Is that a dark side ability?
Yeah.
Like if someone's got a cut and you heal them, how could that be dark side? And is this not just the ultimate form of that?
I don't know if it's the ultimate form of that. I don't know. That's a good question. And then philosophically, I guess you would have to ask yourself, is healing, dark side, or is it bad? Are you destabilizing the path of nature?
Right.
Obviously you're going to heal, but are you using that that quick fix to get to that same, and obviously, Yoda says, the dark side is quicker, more seductive. So if you lump healing into that, then I would say what Yoda says is true. You are kind of cutting to the chase and not trusting the natural path of nature to do its
To
job.
create life.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I guess so.
That's interesting. We got some questions in the chat. Let's bring Jameson's question up front here. Has the dark side been explored more as a natural expression of life? In the original trilogy, the dark side is a corruption of the teachings of the Force, but
Ooh.
later works seems to
Oh.
explore this further. Jameson, if you want to head on over to wherever it is that you download your favorite apps, we kind of touched on this
Kind of. We
years
really
ago.
touched on this.
Yeah, regarding what is balance. We really did a deep dive on this topic and more. One of my favorite episodes because it was unexpected. Our conversation went into realms that we did not expect, and one of our co-hosts at the time, Alex, really had his mind blown because we really that was a really great episode. So yeah, find that one.
The what I said in that episode and what I still believe is I don't think the dark side is inherently inherently evil. I think in nature you can't have light. Light doesn't exist without dark. So I don't think the abilities in and of themselves are evil. It's just who chooses to wield those. It's the person. Usually you'll see the people that are wielding the dark side are people that are already corrupted or damaged somehow. Sure. And they are using, so they just can't handle it, and they're irresponsible with it. That was the point I was making in that is that's why even if we talk about creating life here, like I don't know if I would consider that evil necessarily. That's up for debate. But I don't think the dark side in and of itself is evil. I think just the people who choose to use it for bad. It can just do different things than what the light side of the Force can do. And I don't think most people can handle it. But I don't think it's evil though.
Yeah, you're you actually sound like some of the comments that Leslie Headland said right before the release of the Acolyte regarding the fact that there is no evil or there is no bad things in the universe. I think
I disagree with that. I'm talking about the dark side of the Force, but you look at Vader, he's bad. You look at Palpatine or Maul,
but he used the Force. Evil. Yeah, but he used the Force for bad things, and you're saying that the Force isn't.
The Force isn't what's making them do that. They are bad people,
right,
using the dark side of the Force,
right.
Yeah, unfortunately, KOTOR's not canon anymore. But I agree, though. I mean, Force healing's always been a light side ability in the games and stuff like that. Only recently did it become some whatever the hell is going on at the end of The Last Jedi and Return of Skywalker. I don't know. They confused me whether it was good or bad there at the end. So I don't know.
Some other people are jumping in the chat. Thank you very much. Skywalker's Academy usually joins us. Thanks for coming on by. Damon's in the chat.
There's definitely evil, but I don't think it's the Force corrupting them. I think they are bad and they're using the dark side.
Yeah. Chicken or the egg.
I'm sure you would, Sith would also use the light side for different things as well.
Could be. Yeah. Right.
I think they're using both sides of the Force. I think the Jedi are choosing not to use the dark side at all. But I would argue a Sith would probably use both sides of the Force.
Sure. Yeah. Let's get down to interpretations, because I think in the real world we have various interpretations of religious concepts. You've got, Christianity, Catholicism, the list goes on. this particular episode also has a little bit of a different interpretation of the Force. During one of the early scenes here, where the mother is demonstrating, some Force powers. She called it a thread.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I found interesting is that her speech in explaining this thread or this Force was kind of similar to Yoda in The Empire Strikes Back when he was explaining it to Luke. She says that, pull on the thread, it ties you to your destiny and it binds you to others.
Yeah.
And those are two words that are obviously very familiar to us when it comes to the Force. It binds us, it ties us together. What do you think of that concept? I guess the reinterpretation, I don't know if it's a reinterpretation, but it's just another interpretation in this galaxy about the Force.
I mean, I personally love it. I love that they're showing that in this universe. There are different interpretations of the Force. Yeah, I mean, it's a big galaxy out there that you can't say that there's only one way of looking at it. It'd be like there's only one religion on Earth. That's not possible. And I know we got Charles in the chat, and hopefully we have some other Dungeons and Dragons fans in the chat who might know where I'm getting at. In Dungeons and Dragons, it's called the Weave. The source of all magic is called the Weave in the D&D universe. And I think the thread is very close to that. And I think that's, the weave is another good way of looking at it. It's kind of what she's saying. We're all connected one way or another. And so when you pull on those strings, different things will happen. So personally, I love the different interpretation of it.
Sure. Yeah. I wanted to ask you, the style of parenting between the two mothers is very different. It seems like Harrell really wants a little bit more of discipline from the twins. She's a little more hard ass, and Anasea is a little more lenient. What is one of the things that you notice between the two and their parenting styles? I feel although Anasea created the twins with this magic, I do feel like she did it out of love, if that makes sense. But I have a feeling that the other mother really wants to use these twins to control, to twist, to corrupt.
Yeah, I think, I don't know about corrupt. I just think they have a different outlook on the world in the galaxy at large. Obviously, we know that it's going to have lasting effects on the girls as they get older.
Sure.
How Osha sees things and how May sees things. How Coral sees things definitely had a bigger impact on May, and she carries that all the way forward to her, the present day. So it's definitely going to have a lasting impact. And are there going to be more flashbacks? Do we know?
I don't know. I'm assuming some people have said that we are going to get another flashback scene of some of the events that we've seen in this episode. That takes a look at the events from a different perspective, and maybe the Jedi perspective. I feel that the way this episode was structured, it gives us kind of a weird look into how the Jedi were manipulated, or how they seem to be, in order for us as the audience to say, hey, I don't think the Jedi are that great. I think we'll see. I don't know for sure.
I mean, do we want
Star Wars loves flashbacks?
Yeah, I don't know if we want to discuss Patrick's comment there / question. I mean, I was having this discussion actually over the last couple of days with those close to me, and obviously her personal beliefs are going to and have gotten into the show. I don't like the way Star Wars presents their beliefs these days, but just as kind of the consensus we came to, even though us, hardcore fans from the 70s and 80s, don't necessarily believe everything nowadays. When the movie came out in 77, it was a reflection of everything that was going on in the world, especially the United States, but around the world at that time. Right.
Sure.
We've talked about it on the show. It was on the dust was settling from the Vietnam War, which had just ended, Watergate, which had just happened, all the political corruption. So if you go, put yourself back in 77, if you were watching it in 77 as an adult, you would have seen it as a reflection of what was going on in society. And you may or may not have agreed with it at that time. You may have had a different perspective of what was going on in society at that time. So you fast forwarded to 2024, and now it again, whether you like what's happening in our world, in the real world per se, it is still a reflection, whether you agree with it or not, of what's going on in society at this time. In this case, it just happens to coincide with some very big force abilities that we're discussing now. But, obviously, I believe her personal beliefs did make it in there. But it is at the same time a reflection of things that we're discussing in society right now. And I think that, we as viewers, the ones that have been looking at this for a long time, we have to recognize that. Like, you as a human being, you may not agree with all this stuff. That's why you're having an issue with Star Wars. And I get that. I completely understand that. But, as Jameson says right there, art is a reflection of the times.
Sure.
Right. They imitate, they imitate each other sometimes. In
1977, we were kids. We didn't,
right.
Yeah. We didn't pick up on those nuances. And
you wouldn't have known that was about the Nazi rise to power in 1935.
Vietnam,
you wouldn't have known that, as a kid. But if you were an adult watching it in 77,
you would catch the
you'd be like, oh my God. They're like, hey, this is the rise of fascism. This is what happens with fascism. We didn't pick that. We was like, oh, Stormtrooper bad, Luke good. Like, that's all we knew as kids.
Sure.
If you're watching that as an adult, you would have seen that. And I think that's why, as you have to say, from a certain point of view, we have a different point of view now. We're older, so now we can clearly see that as it's a reflection. So a lot of times the reason why we're, not, and I agree with Force of Light. Yeah, I think George did keep it more broad.
Yeah.
Than what they are now. But no social media. I mean, can you imagine if we had social media between 77 and 83?
And I want to see if maybe Patrick can clarify a little bit. Are the twins not having a father just a way to push Leslie Headland's personal beliefs onto the Star Wars fandom? And I want to push back a little bit, because a character not having a father wasn't Leslie Headland's idea for Star Wars. We already have Anakin, who doesn't have a father. So if Patrick can clarify a little bit, are we saying that we have a problem with a character that is born that doesn't have a father? Because we've seen this already. So it's not like it's something new. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And again, it gets us talking. And that's the, in this case, we will choose to stay focused on the show and what the implications are in the Star Wars universe.
I want to put up Danny Brown's comment as well. How is the twins' birth non-dad different from Anakin? I don't think you can say it's personal beliefs of one. This is exactly what I was saying. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I think, when it comes to, and there are a lot of people online that are equating some really, hard-hitting personal political observations from this, which is fine. I think as adults, it's kind of cool to be able to kind of compare and contrast some of these concepts in our entertainment, which lead to discussions like this. Danny, that's I think that's what I'm saying. Absolutely. Let's see, another thing from Danny. European kids were taught about Nazi and stormtroopers, especially. Yeah. And again, that's George Lucas using the broad stroke in his space fantasy. stormtroopers versus stormtroopers. Obviously, the parallels are quite obvious at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I feel, again, a lot of people are jumping down the throat of the Acolyte because they are seeing that so far the Jedi have been portrayed as not very nice. Obviously, it seems like they're also kind of citing examples of what Luke said in The Last Jedi about the Jedi having hubris, my favorite word. And everything that Luke has stated in that film, that middle film, is coming to light here. And obviously, Lucas did it in the prequels where the Jedi were blinded and let Palpatine rise to power. I think that says a little more about Palpatine's skill when it comes to manipulation. I think he's been at it for a while. We already have talked about, in the past, about how Palpatine is always, 10 steps ahead of the next guy with preparing and manipulation and maneuvering politically to get what he wants. But again, in subsequent episodes of The Acolyte, I'm hoping that we see, another side of how we see the Jedi. Maybe we are seeing the Jedi at this point in the way that the authors want us to see them, based on who's doing the manipulating in this case, especially this third episode. Again, I feel like later on you get to the explosion of the temple and some of the things that are happening there that kind of don't make sense based on what was going on. I think Carell, the Mother Carell character, is utilizing this upheaval to her advantage and trying to convince Osha that you see what the Jedi did, they're bad, so you shouldn't go with them.
So I'd like to get to we're about that time in the show, I think, where Carrie Ann Moss's character, Indara, I think is her name in the show. She uses the words that that the Jedi have the right to basically take these kids.
Test children,
right?
Yeah.
Tests,
because Saul again says the Jedi don't take children.
Right. So, do you think they have that right? Besides, they obviously they made it law with the Republic. She states a Republic law.
Right.
Wherever Brendock is, it's, I guess, outside. I don't know if it's Outer Rim or what, but I guess it's out of the Republic. But do this is the morality we were talking about earlier. Do you think the Jedi just, is it the right answer for, if someone's found to be force sensitive, that the Jedi have first dibs on that kid to take them away from their family?
I mean, if the Jedi have been doing that for, generations, then, I guess it's a system that has worked in their favor.
Well, we all know that something that's in place for generations isn't always the right answer.
Right. But I don't know. Good question.
So again, what happens if Anakin is never? Now we've talked about this before with the prophecy and fate and stuff like that. But what happens if Anakin was never brought to Coruscant and he just stays on Tatooine? Do all the things of the trilogy ever happen?
Yeah, and I think there's a video out there that discusses that point by point. But let's
gave the Coven what's Jedi of Chicago saying here?
My theory is still that the Sith gave the Coven the idea to create life, then told the Jedi about them when it succeeded, and that quarrel riled up the other witches when the Jedi came to get Osha.
What I'm hoping right now, I know we're going to get to I'm hoping that there are scenes missing. There have got to be scenes missing from this episode that they didn't show.
I feel you're right.
And because there's none of those bodies were burned. All the bodies are, and I don't know if they just ran out of time in production or what. I hope it's not that. None of the bodies look like they died of a fire. And I hope that there's more layers to this story And that, I mean, I hope we're not giving them too much credit sometimes. I would like complex things like this to be the case. I don't know, like I think it was Science Fiction Era saying, we don't know yet. We haven't seen all the episodes.
Right.
But I am hoping there's at least 5 more layers to this story than what we've seen so far.
It's interesting. You say layers, and I do, upon my second watch, I really was paying attention to the way certain lines were said between the mothers. And it is, I think on my second watch, I feel like, we're taking an onion and peeling back each layer and really finding something new. We'll get some more answers in subsequent episodes. Something that came up, I think on another podcast that I was on. Do you feel like the coven, the group of witches, Jim Jones themselves? They took some poison from that tree for some reason.
No, I don't. You could have just said drank the Kool-Aid. Do you think they drank the Kool-Aid? I don't. That's a possibility. I thought there was a conflict because whatever happened to Torben, right? And they all have this guilty conscience. Like that's why I'm saying there better be scenes missing from this, because from what we saw in this episode, there is absolutely no reason for any of the Jedi, those 4 Jedi, to have a guilty conscience. They didn't start the fire. Billy Joel did.
Right.
But there has to be more to this. I don't know if there was I think there was a fight there. I think someone may have said it in the chat. I think there may have been a fight between the Jedi and between them and the Coven. I hope so. I didn't see any like lightsaber wounds or anything. I think they kept it. I'm hoping they kept it deliberately vague as to their cause, because if they did just die in the fire, they did. Number one, they did a horrible. They didn't like I texted you.
Nobody burned.
They didn't give them the Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen treatment.
Right.
They could have showed a bunch of burnt corpses there, and that would have been pretty tragic. But they just showed bodies laying on the ground.
Right.
So I'm hoping that there has to be a reason why the Jedi have a. I don't know if this is like a Last Jedi thing. Like I think, whoever just said that Hyperspace Heroes podcast. It's like a Last Jedi thing where we're going to have these different flashbacks from different points of view, but there better be more to this than what we saw.
Yeah, I think there will be. I texted you earlier today, the way that Torben fell to the ground when he got the black oil in his eye.
Yeah.
And then later on, obviously he's in meditation, and then, May comes in and gives him the poison finally. And he says what he says. He says, we thought we were doing the right thing. He takes the poison and offs himself. Do you think that perhaps it is a kind of a Manchurian Candidate sort of thing, where the witches kind of implanted something in Torben and he kept it hidden inside until the right moment came? And that's one of the things that, uses him to off himself.
I don't think it's going to be that deep. I just don't. I mean, it'd be cool. I'm hoping this, because again, they call this a big mystery. And so right now I'm not seeing the big mystery. Besides, we don't know who Zipper Face is.
Right.
I don't, we as Science Fictionary said, we got to wait till the end for a lot of these things, because if there's not more, then that's going to be a huge fail for the show. But I don't think it's that deep. I would love it for it to be that complex, but I don't think it is.
And yeah, Ubaldo noticed also there's no body of Mother Corell. So I mean, I do feel I posted a picture of her the other day, and I said we got to keep an eye on her because she's definitely running some things behind the scenes.
Yeah. So the Jedi are bad. The Jedi are good. I don't know. Some of the lines in this show were pretty bad. What have you done? What have you done? Whatever they said. Yeah. I don't know. I did like how they were going to lie during the testing, and how Saul tricked her into revealing that she was told to fail on purpose. That
Right.
was pretty cool.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, because you did make a comment earlier, Charles, for Torben to commit suicide is a huge affront to the Jedi Order. And I think this is one of the things that bothered us when we first saw it, a Jedi committing suicide. And I know a lot of people cited Obi-Wan Kenobi in the original Star Wars, where he sacrificed himself. And I think that is a hell of a lot different than just taking poison and offing himself.
Obi-Wan did that with a clean conscience.
Sure.
Yeah, and we the point was made last week that there might sometimes be a fine line between sacrifice and I equate Obi-Wan's more to like jumping on a grenade type sacrifice.
Right.
He did it.
Yeah.
Did it for the greater good for Luke and for the others there. But no, that suicide. I agree with conversations. It's no. And so, and again, what we saw in episode 3, not nearly enough reason for somebody to commit suicide. To be, so he's awake for the next 6 years, I guess.
Right.
In which time he makes master somehow, from Padawan to master in 6 years, and then decides to go into a meditative state for 10 years. So that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
And then to have a guilty conscience after all that.
Right. I mean, he was pretty powerful in his meditation. He was able to create like a bubble that, protected him. One of the first, Star Wars always introduces kind of new force powers. This is one of them we've never seen before. So
I'm
this is
fine
kind
with
of,
it. I thought it was pretty cool.
Sometimes I wonder if these shows should drop all at once so we kind of see the bigger picture and analyze it. I know, a lot of people like the single episode drop because then we're talking about it. We have content. I sometimes I almost feel like an entire series drop at once. We get to see it and then discuss it with all the pieces in place. We're not wondering, we're not guessing, we're not trying to formulate things, but
we're bad viewers. I think nowadays, like, we are bad viewers because of Netflix and other streaming services. We're bad viewers now. Like, if this might have the best plot twist come episodes 7 and 8, it might have the best plot twist ever. And I'm not saying that sarcastically. It might have the best plot, but by that time you've already made up your mind that this show is garbage, so you can't enjoy those plot twists at the end. We're such bad viewers, we can't just take a piece of the story and just like accept it for what it is as part of a bigger story. We make our decisions so quickly after each episode.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with Jedi of Chicago. I think binge culture has hurt shows like this where you don't get the answers all at once, but that's okay. It's like I said, it's for, content creators like ourselves. We talk about this on a weekly basis. We'll see where it goes, but we do have to be patient as well. So it's interesting. I want to get back to there's one concept of the show that I wanted to see if I can get your take. We start the show with the tree and the twins. They are in this forest environment. They seem to be doing their thing. At the end, after the temple burns and everything explodes and goes to shit, Soul has a nice conversation with Osha. You'll never feel like this again. Fear will go away. I'm sorry. I'll train you as a Padawan. Yada yada yada. Soul is so compassionate. What a wonderful character.
Yeah.
And we see the connection that he is starting to make with his new Padawan Osha. And then there's this wonderful hug between the two characters. Slow zoom into to Osha, and then we go back to the tree. The episode ends back to the tree. You see supposedly May. It is May because she's got the tattoo on.
Okay. I didn't notice that.
Yeah. And she looks confused. She's back at the tree and she hears her sister, call out.
No, but that's what confused me because the word is Osha. So that's why I was confused because it says the closed captioning says young May, and the word is OSHA. Why would she, like, unless she's just, May is just calling out to the Force? It seemed like May was calling to her, and that was OSHA. That's why I was confused about that scene.
Yeah.
Because the word is OSHA, but she doesn't say anything there. So I don't know if it's her just doing it with the Force.
I think it might be.
what.
And so here's the thing. I almost feel like this realm in this forest with this tree amplifies their Force abilities. Almost like a purgatory of sorts. That's where they go to reset. That's where they go to find comfort. Yeah. And I think when they were, running around and when they were on the bridge facing each other, telling each other, what did you do? What did you do? One of them fell, soul Force caught the other one, but we don't know where the other one went. And it's almost like, resetting, your character in a game. They go back to that tree.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that, they use this tree as kind of a reset point. But I think, outside in the first episode, we have these two supposedly, witch children. One of them obviously has the Force, the other one doesn't. And I think, OSHA, when she was in that ship, when she was captured trying to escape, she was trying to use the Force to bring the droid, to her, but she couldn't do it. But both of them in the tree scenario, in the forest, they were both pretty adept at using the Force.
Yeah, I think she closed herself off. Conversations, it's spelled Bunta. I only know that because I always have to have closed captioning on. So it's different spelling than the Boonta Eve Classic. I was just thinking if I think the tree might, we've talked about the duality of the names. I think the tree might be an illustration of life and death, because and I might be giving them too much credit now, but typically when we think of a tree and we think of the leaves on the tree, we think of life, the tree of life and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's this tree that is harvested to make that poison that killed Torben years later.
Right. I mean,
they said they use it for hunting as well. They use the Boonta for hunting. So I think that might be used to show a little duality between life and death as well.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I'm seeing like biblical parallels, the tree of knowledge, the Garden of Eden. And again,
you already mentioned Cain and Abel, so
yeah. So I think it's there. I mean, I'm hoping, like you said, that we do get some sort of like real, like mind bending, developments in the next episodes. To kind of justify some of our discussions. Again, I know a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, you're giving the writers too much credit," but I think in the realm of podcasting and content creating, I mean, the discussion is half the fun.
Yeah. So the, talking about the sisters, the concept of the Force dyad, I think is what they called it in the sequel trilogy, was first introduced in that was The Last Jedi, I think, introduced that, saying that Rey and Kylo were part of a Force dyad,
right?
Are because they keep saying this poem, which I think is cheesy, but whatever. They keep saying this poem, which to me is indicating that are we thinking they are also a Force dyad? And if so, why did OSHA not know that May was alive in that case?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe she closed herself, or maybe that tree protects Force users from being detected, and maybe that's where they were, so the Jedi didn't detect them until they left that Force tree. I'm calling it a Force tree, that forest, and that's what alerted them to their presence, and then that's why they had to go to that planet. I have a feeling that forest, it's got something to do with being able to shield those kids. Yeah. And I think in Rise of Skywalker is when Palpatine says a Force dyad not seen for generations.
Right.
So, this definitely could be, if we're getting into force dyads between twins and siblings, if the force did create Anakin as a response to this dark side creation of life, where is his twin? And I asked that question half in jest and half in all seriousness. Somebody had pointed out that Anakin and Grogu were born in the same year.
Yeah, whereas nerds thinking way too much. No,
Yeah, right.
He's there to sell Mandalorian merch.
That's it. Yeah.
No, I don't know. I think maybe it's off because maybe he doesn't have one. I think that's why the universe gets all messed up, maybe because he doesn't have one. I mean, there is good discussion going on in the chat about what's going on back at the Jedi Temple. I think it varies depending on the writer. Obviously, we see in both episode 2 and episode 3, especially when Order 66 started. But even when Anakin was killing the entire village in episode 2, Yoda could feel that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he could feel when all the Jedi were dying in episode 3. You can definitely see that Yoda can feel that, and I'm sure others could too. But Yoda was specifically or especially sensitive to these kind of things. You would think canonically that he would have been sensitive to all the strife between what Saul was feeling, the other 3 Jedi were feeling, and then the emotions of Osha and May. If they're very powerful in the Force, what they were feeling. So it's kind of odd that there wouldn't have been some kind of response from Coruscant about this.
Sure.
So,
yeah, but again, we're only seeing a quarter of the puzzle at this point. So
yeah,
we'll see.
But I'm. Is it just that they covered this up? Because no one, when you go back to the first episode, no one knows besides Saul that Osha had a sister.
Right.
So is it just that they covered this up? I hope not. I definitely hope that there's more to it than that.
Yeah. Who knows? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Anything else on this episode? We can rate it, give it our ratings.
Well, because of Cal Naka's stupid ass haircut. Like, why did they do that to the? We want to talk about reflecting reality. Yeah, they gave the Wookiee a stupid haircut. So that knocks it down 1 point. I don't know what I give this episode. I don't know if I can.
How many Bunta leaves out of 10?
Oh man, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't great.
I think I liked it more the second time I watched it. I think the first time, obviously, you take a look at
negative
stuff
points for the stupid music. Like that musical number. Like, what was that? That was a Disney special right there. That was.
You mean the Ascension ceremony?
Yeah, that was dumb.
I mean, have you been to church lately? It's the same thing. Stand up.
I'm like, no one told me I was signing up for a musical for episode. Like, I don't know. I don't know. No, there was a lot missing, but again, I don't know if it was on purpose or not.
Yeah,
I hope it's on purpose. I'm still going to put in that same range, 5.5 Bunta leaves. I'm putting them all between the 5 and 6 range right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm with Dave. They're all between 5 and 6 for me right now. Which again, I can work. I put Boba Fett lower. I put Book of Boba Fett between 2 and 5 tops. I don't know which one was 5. Oh yeah, the one that wasn't about Mandalorian. I think that one was, or the one that wasn't about
Boba Fett. Yeah.
But I can work with. I can continue on with the series in the 5 to 6 range.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed this episode more than the first 2. The first 2 were very vanilla for me. They were very like, there's just nothing new, nothing spectacular.
I'm also just not a big fan of flashback episodes, just in general.
Sure,
I feel like the story should tell. You should
be told,
illustrate what happened in the past, not just straight up show it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you for the most part. Yeah. I'm actually going to give it a 7 out of
Really?
10. Yeah,
Okay.
I think I enjoyed the different interpretation of the Force, the way the witches
I did like a
told it.
thread. I did like a thread.
It was interesting to me. I think the duality of the characters between the two mothers is something to watch in the future. Um, I think Coral has something to hide, and I can't wait to find out what it is. Um,
I think
and
they use the Force to create a child. I think that's what they're hiding.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But I want to see more. I want to see more of the consequences. I want to see more of the, the hiding, not really the hiding, but yeah, I really want to see the consequences of what they've done and what it means to the Jedi. It all ties to what we'll see in 100 years. I think we have to kind of go back to Palpatine's you know teachings or his speech during the prequels to kind of somebody in the chat mentioned that maybe these witches did it first, and then that's how Palpatine or Darth Plagueis refined the method to control life. There are Sith legends that he spoke about, and I know the book is not canon anymore, but there's some stuff in the Darth Plagueis book that might come to light. But I'm curious.
We all. I mean, there's many of us that we just want to see Plagueis on screen. When Snoke turned out to not be Plagueis, we just want to see. I mean, so Plagueis could be alive. I mean, Plagueis would be alive at this time. I don't think Zipperface is Plagueis, but that would be cool. In which case, he could have learned from them.
Yeah.
It's not too far off. But we just have to be patient and wait and see.
Yeah.
I don't want to get my hopes too high. I don't want them to hurt me again.
Point to the Star Wars doll where Star Wars hurt you.
Yeah. Where did KK hurt you?
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, I mean, it's good discussion, good talk. Thank everybody in the chat for joining us on a Saturday night here. Hope you guys had fun. If you do have any further comments, we obviously have a Scarif Scuttlebutt hotline. You can give us a call, leave us a voicemail, 773-234-8659. Leave a voicemail and tell us what you thought of the episode. We'll run it in a future recorded show. We did a Sentry mode with Rural Farm Boy, which will pop in a future show. Thank you, Brad, for those questions. You made them too easy for our Imperial friend.
That pissed me off. I thought I made 3 of them. I thought pretty easy, but 2 of them he should have definitely stumped them. So
yeah, no, and I thought
has been thrown down.
Oh. Yeah, absolutely. So that's a lot of fun. Yeah. Anything else?
I just want to say we got up to 77 viewers, and that's where it's at. 77 on Twitter. So we'll just keep it there. Nobody leave. Nobody join. 77 is a good number.
Well, I've got 78 on Twitter and 12 on YouTube for a total of 90. Nice. Thank you, everyone.
Again, happy Father's Day to all the dads out there holding it down.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you.
When there is a father. Good job.
Very nice. Very nice. Real fast. I don't have my calendar handy. Are you going to join me next week, or is it the following week? I don't remember.
Well, let me look at some dates. Next week I will be here. The week after that I will not.
Gotcha. Excellent. And we have some guests coming to fill in the void while Brad is away, but maybe we'll bring in somebody to join us next week. We'll see who wants to join us and talk about the 4th episode of the Acolyte, whatever it's called. Yeah. Thank you, everyone in the chat, for joining us here on the Scarif Scuttlebutt Scarif Live Saturday Night Show. Remember, we are part of the Red 5 Network. Head on over to bio.link/Red5. There is a podcast or content creator for you, and please continue to check out our back catalog. We've got some wonderful shows that will keep you up at night and help us celebrate our road to 50,000 lifetime downloads. Amazing, amazing benchmark for us. We are very proud. And don't forget to head on over to Twitter and check out our pinned tweet.
Only if you want a free PlayStation.
Yeah. Other than that, good luck to you. But all right, Brad.
As always, enjoy Star Wars responsibly. And that is the Scuttlebutt.
I forgot to say, may the thread be with you.